In this video, I'm going to cover the CSS Box Model and the box sizing property. I'll go over what the box model is, and then I'll show a live demonstration of how it works. Then I'll cover what the property box sizing does and also give a live demonstration. In CSS, the box model is a way of describing how elements are sized and spaced on a page. So in CSS, you can think of every element as a box, and each box is made up of 4 parts. The first part is the content. The content is whatever is inside the element, like text, images, buttons, etc. Next, we have padding. Padding is the space inside of the element. It surrounds the content. Then we have the border. The border is the edge that wraps around the padding and the content. And then we have a margin. Margin is the space outside of the element. It separates other elements as well. So imagine you had a cardboard box. The item inside of the cardboard box can be seen as the content. The protective bubble wrap that's inside of the box, surrounding the content, can be seen as padding. The tape that is around the cardboard box can be seen as the border. And then the margin can be thought of as the space outside of the cardboard box. So if you had multiple cardboard boxes stacked next to each other, any gaps in between those cardboard boxes can be seen as the margin. So here is an example of a box. We have content inside the box. The space around the content is the padding. This blue line that defines the box is a border. And then the space outside of the border is a margin. If we now look at the HTML code, we can see that we've created this box using the div tag, and we've added a paragraph tag inside of the div tag. And now if we look at the CSS, we've taken the class name without, and we have styled this div with a width of 300 pixels for this box and a height of 200 pixels. We've also added padding of 50 pixels, a border of 5 pixels solid blue, and then margin of 10 pixels. You may think that because we've set the width of this box or this div to 300 pixels, that the width of this box would be 300 pixels. However, when it comes to the box model, by default, the total width of this box is actually taking into account the padding and also the border sizes as well. So the width is actually calculating the 300 pixels as well as 50 pixels on the right-hand side as well as 50 pixels on the left-hand side. It's also calculating the border width, which is 5 pixels on the left here. This blue border here is 5 pixels on the left and 5 pixels on the right. So adding it all together, it's 300 pixels plus 100 pixels, which is 50 pixels on the left and 50 pixels on the right of padding. And then it's also 10 pixels, which is 5 pixels on the left of 5 pixels on the right of border, which equals 410 pixels. So initially we thought the width was 300 pixels but it's actually 410 pixels wide. When we calculate the height, we may think the height is 200 pixels. However, it works in the same way as the width. It's not just 200 pixels, it's also adding the padding, which is 50 pixels on the top and 50 pixels on the bottom. And it's also adding the border of 5 pixels on the top and 5 pixels on the bottom. So that calculates as 200 pixels plus 100 pixels plus 10 pixels. So the actual total height of this box here is 310 pixels. Now you may note that we also have margin of 10 pixels, and I haven't included that in the total size of the box. So the width and height that you set only apply to the content, not the padding or the border. You calculate the total size of the element by adding width plus padding plus border, and then height plus padding plus border. I've created another box underneath this first box, which I'll uncomment now. And as you can see, this box underneath is a little bit smaller than our original box. However, if we take a look at the CSS code for this second box, we will notice that aside from this initial property here, which we'll talk about soon, the width is exactly the same with both boxes, 300 pixels. The height is the same with both boxes, 200 pixels. The padding, both of them are 50 pixels. The border is 5 pixels. The top box is solid blue, the bottom box is solid black. That's the only difference there. And then they both have margin of 10 pixels. So realistically speaking, these two boxes should look exactly the same because they have the exact same dimensions. But the difference between the two boxes is that we are using a CSS property called box sizing with a value of border box. What this means is the total width and height of this element includes the padding and the border. So just to demonstrate, if I was to completely remove this line of code, you can see the box underneath is exactly the same as the box on top. So what border box is doing is making the width exactly 300 pixels, including the padding and the border. And it's also making the height exactly 200 pixels, including the padding and the border. Whereas the box at the top is 300 pixels wide plus the padding and the border. And it's 200 pixels in height plus the padding and the border. So using box sizing border box is great for more controlled layouts, and it makes calculating the sizing a lot easier. So with that being said, border box is really useful to use, and it's quite common to use border box for all elements. So I'm going to uncomment this bit of CSS here, and what you can see straight away is that the box that did not have box sizing border box has now shrunk in size to match the box that did have box sizing border box before. So this asterisk means all of the elements will have whatever value is inside of these curly braces. So that means all of the elements are going to be using border box. This is a really common practice that you'll see in CSS. So in summary, the box model is a really useful way of sizing your elements. It incorporates content, padding, border, and margin. And the property box sizing with the value border box is a really useful way of making sure your elements are sized efficiently. Using the asterisk, as we can see here, the asterisk makes sure that all of the elements are styled consistently. So I can actually remove the box sizing border box from the second box because we have the asterisk that is taking care of all of the elements in one go. So I can put it at the top here. And both boxes are styled consistently.